Product Management Fellowship is trying to help product managers make their products more inclusive of different identity groups and their needs. This has been digital products across different sectors like agriculture, education, health, governance, etc. And we've tried to do this through providing research and any prototyping support to organizations. This might be both social research support and also technical support in terms of developing Figma prototypes, etc.
Immersive user sessions that we conducted were really helpful, not just for us, the IPMF team, but of course for the fellows as well, because a lot of these fellows understand these issues, but having that personal connection to identify with the cause and also see how it reflects on their product, I think that is something that's missing from this whole journey, and that was something we were able to bridge. And I saw personally how it reached and affected the fellows that we were working with, and it strengthened their commitment to the issue. And I also feel the expert sessions we did were a perfect addition on top of the research that we have been providing them with and the actual user sessions we've been providing them with, because these experts bring with them deep commitment to inclusion as well as experience in the tech industry. So I think that bridged it perfectly for them.
When we have an AI chatbot, two elements, AI and the use of a mobile phone, how do you then make that accessible to people who are digitally maybe not very literate, and also people from different identities who might not have the same amount of access to technological devices? So women, for example, people from different caste backgrounds, and intersections of all of these identities.
One problem statement that we are working with is for kids, so that they can learn through gamification, and that we are doing it especially for visually impaired and hearing impaired kids. So originally the product is already accessible for younger kids, but now we are focusing to make it even more accessible for kids who are visually and hearing impaired.
As a design student, I've found myself getting a chance to interact with product managers from the industry, and getting a chance to see how design can influence not just the product but also the initiatives outside the product, which are very important for any user and the customer. The kind of engagement that I've had with the experts also who have joined as part of the IPMF for the sessions has been really enriching. I've got a chance to understand the power of inclusion in the product design and product management space through those expert interviews, and it has added a lot to my understanding of what inclusive design can be.
That is having fellows relook at their product, right? When you assume that you've removed offline barriers because you've digitized a certain service, that assumption sort of prevails in the product space, I think. And to just have product managers look at their product again and think, who am I actually excluding? Is it actually simplifying the access process as much as I think it does? I think that itself has been very useful for them to look again at what their product might be doing to, in some cases, minimize the access gap that exists, and in other cases, widen it, right? You might be giving more access to people who have always had access, and therefore widening the gap. And I think a good example is in the case of governance apps, where citizens are expected to raise complaints and claim their rights, but what often ends up happening is that the people who are using these apps to complain are just the well-read people who are aware of their rights and feel entitled to claim it for any number of reasons. So what ends up happening in the process is that someone who's been privileged is then able to get more of their problems resolved, whereas someone who's always had problems then has to resort to just continuing to have those problems, and therefore there's now a wider gap in who reports problems and what gets resolved. What's not worked within the fellowship is that I think this sort of mindset shift and so many of the conversations we're having, as much as they're important, I think they're also very often abstract, and that's also, I think, because the entire concept of inclusion within digital products itself is so new that it's hard to imagine what the digitized version of inclusion can look like.